Mountain Shadows, a tale of betrayal in the Colorado Rockies. Dear friends and fellow storytellers, welcome to tonight's journey through the treacherous peaks of human nature. What unfolds before us is a narrative that begins with gentle slopes but quickly descends into the darkest valleys of the heart. Sometimes the most devastating avalanches are the ones that start within our own homes. A simple case of marital infidelity can unleash forces more destructive than any natural disaster these mountains have ever witnessed. Chapter 1: Tracks in Virgin Snow. William "Bill" Harrison had never imagined his life would take such a sharp turn down an unmarked trail. At 41, after 12 years commanding an elite mountain division and sustaining a Purple Heart in the Afghanistan theater, he had invested his military pension and disability compensation into Pinnacle Ridge Resort, nestled deep in the Colorado Rockies. His 35-year-old wife Sarah, whom he'd rescued from a whiteout blizzard 7 years prior, managed the financial operations with the precision of a Swiss timepiece. Their partnership had functioned flawlessly until Marcus Reed arrived, a smooth-talking ski instructor whose polished exterior concealed the calculating mind of a seasoned con artist. Bill couldn't have known that soon he'd be fighting not to rescue lost tourists, but to salvage his marriage and livelihood from an elaborate deception. The morning briefing at Pinnacle Ridge Resort commenced with the usual operational rhythm. Bill stood before his assembled crew, leaning slightly on his walking stick. The old shrapnel wound in his left knee always announced incoming weather like a barometric pressure gauge. He'd learned long ago never to display weakness before his subordinates, yet something felt different about this particular morning. Perhaps it was the way Sarah's eyes lingered on their newest extreme sports consultant, or maybe it was just the way the frost patterns on the lodge windows seemed to spell out warnings he couldn't quite decipher. Next week marks the grand opening of our new gondola system. Bill's voice carried the authority of a man accustomed to command. This represents our gateway to the next tier of mountain hospitality. Safety protocols must be executed with military precision. To ensure absolute compliance, we've brought in a specialist with impressive credentials. Allow me to introduce Marcus Reed. Marcus Reed lounged against the conference room wall with the casual confidence of a man who'd mastered the art of first impressions. 3 weeks had passed since his arrival with glowing recommendations, and during that brief span, he'd managed to charm every member of the resort staff. The female employees seemed particularly susceptible to his influence. "I've developed several enhancement proposals for our safety infrastructure," Marcus spoke with the measured cadence of someone accustomed to boardroom presentations. "After reviewing your current schematics, I've identified several bottlenecks that warrant immediate attention." Sarah immediately voiced her support. "I believe we stand to gain tremendously by welcoming such a dedicated professional and genuinely caring individual to our team. Marcus brings extensive experience from premier resort operations across the country." Bill noticed how she unconsciously twisted her wedding band, a nervous habit that had emerged in recent weeks like a tell in a poker game. Following the meeting, Bill embarked on his daily perimeter inspection. Fresh powder crunched beneath his boots as he ascended toward Eagle's Nest Lodge, a seasonal cabin shuttered for winter on the resort's most challenging terrain. This was precisely where he discovered Sarah 7 years ago, then just a frightened young woman who'd lost her way in a ground blizzard that had reduced visibility to mere inches. Suddenly, his military-trained senses detected something amiss. Pristine snow revealed 2 distinct sets of tracks, one clearly feminine, the other masculine. They led directly to the service entrance of the supposedly vacant lodge. Bill's brow furrowed with concern. This section of the resort remained off-limits during winter operations. Moving with the stealth that had kept him alive in hostile territory, he followed the trail until muffled voices reached his ears through a partially opened window. "Don't worry yourself into knots. Bill won't suspect a thing." Sarah's voice carried a playful, seductive quality he hadn't heard in months. "He's completely absorbed in this resort renovation project. When he gets focused on business matters, He develops tunnel vision like a horse with blinders. Right now, with all the money he's invested in this expansion, he couldn't see the forest for the trees if his life depended on it. What about the insurance documentation? Marcus's voice carried a gravelly undertone. We'll need his signature on the amended policies. Relax, sweetheart. I've been handling all financial matters for 7 years running. He'll sign whatever I place in front of him. He's learned to trust my judgment in these areas implicitly. The sound of passionate kissing followed, accompanied by rustling fabric and suppressed laughter. Bill retreated from the window, feeling ice-cold fury crystallizing in his chest. 12 years of military service had taught him the cardinal rule: never act on raw emotion. He soundlessly withdrew from the lodge and headed directly to his private office. The time had come for reconnaissance. Before launching any offensive operation, intelligence gathering was essential. That evening, Sarah orchestrated a romantic dinner complete with candlelight and wine. She appeared unusually animated, discussing innovative concepts for resort development. In the flickering light, her familiar features seemed somehow transformed, recognizable yet utterly foreign at the same time. This Marcus fellow is absolutely invigorating for our entire operation. He's proposed a revolutionary approach to our gondola marketing strategy, she spoke rapidly, as though afraid of interruption. Plus, he maintains excellent connections within the insurance industry. We could substantially expand our coverage while simultaneously protecting ourselves against unforeseen complications. Bill slowly sipped his bourbon, studying his wife's animated gestures over the rim of his glass. Yes, Marcus certainly appears quite accomplished. He deliberately paused for effect. Please proceed with the insurance modifications. I have complete confidence in your professional judgment. Sarah's face brightened considerably, though something predatory flickered behind her smile. Or perhaps that was merely his imagination playing tricks. Late that night, after the house had settled into silence, Bill sat in his study surrounded by Marcus Reed's personnel files. Something about the man's resume didn't add up properly. Minor discrepancies existed, details that would escape civilian notice but stood out like signal flares to someone who'd spent a decade vetting operatives before classified missions. He reached for his phone and dialed an old contact from military intelligence. Hey there, Mike. Remember when you said I could call any time I needed a favor? I require background information on an individual, Marcus Reed. I'm particularly interested in his employment history at other ski resorts, wondering if he's made any waves elsewhere. Outside his window, the wind howled through the pine trees, erasing tracks in the snow. But some tracks, Bill knew, couldn't be covered by even the most violent storms. Chapter 2: Shadows from the Past. The telephone's shrill ring jolted Bill from sleep at 3:15 in the morning. Mike Donovan's name glowed on the caller ID. His former intelligence colleague never called at this hour with good news. Bill, I hope you're sitting down. If not, you'd better grab a chair. What I've uncovered about your Marcus Reed makes that cluster in Kandahar look like a Sunday school picnic. Bill silently activated his desk lamp, careful not to disturb Sarah in the adjacent bedroom. His hand automatically reached for the bourbon bottle, an old habit from service days when bad news arrived with depressing regularity. Over the past 5 years, 4 major ski resort operations have declared bankruptcy following catastrophic accidents with multiple fatalities. Insurance companies bled the owners dry with settlements, compensation packages, wrongful death lawsuits, endless litigation. And here's the kicker. I found a common denominator linking every single incident: a certain engineering consultant who appeared 2 to 3 months before each disaster. Different names on the paperwork, but identical methodologies. Bill felt his spine turn to ice. Yesterday's overheard conversation echoed in his memory. Insurance policies, documentation. The pieces were forming a horrifying picture. I'm transmitting the files now, Mike continued grimly. There's more. Your boy Reed is former military but not regular army. He served with a private military contractor called Black Ice Solutions. Ever hear of that outfit? Bill had indeed heard of them. Extremely disturbing rumors surrounded that organization. Assassination contracts, sabotage operations, destabilization campaigns, everything that had made him sick even during his darkest days in special operations. Much obliged, old friend, Bill rubbed his temples. I owe you one. I'll keep my head on a swivel. Watch your six, Bill. These Black Ice alumni are genuine psychopaths. Human life means absolutely nothing to them. They operate strictly for profit. Insurance payouts run into 9 figures, so they won't hesitate to eliminate obstacles. Morning arrived clear and bitter cold. The resort buzzed with preparation for the gondola system's ceremonial launch. Workers scurried about hanging festive banners while Marcus, impeccably dressed in his instructor's uniform, supervised demonstration preparations. Hey there, Bill, he waved with theatrical enthusiasm. Want to review the opening ceremony program? I've arranged something truly spectacular. Bill observed this man through completely different eyes now. Behind that friendly smile lurked the predatory grin of a professional killer. Those fluid movements weren't athletic grace. They were the product of training in mercenary camps, not ski slopes. Absolutely, friend. Show me what you've got. I'm getting too old to keep up with all these modern entertainment innovations. Bill forced a smile. The game had begun, and he needed to play his assigned role flawlessly. Marcus unrolled blueprints across a snowmobile's hood. His fingers, Bill now noticed the distinctive calluses from weapons handling, danced across the route schematics. The main event happens right here. It's a challenging section, but that'll add excitement for the crowd. We'll invite media representatives, potential investors. This will be absolutely unforgettable. No doubt about that, Bill muttered, observing how Marcus had specifically highlighted the area near the geological fault, the most treacherous location on the entire mountainside. By afternoon, the resort hummed like a disturbed beehive. Staff members raved about the charismatic Marcus, who seemed omnipresent, breathing life into every operational detail. He joked with instructors, offered valuable technical advice, and charmed administrative personnel effortlessly. He's absolutely incredible, gushed Rebecca, the young receptionist. Such a professional, and he connects with people so naturally. I don't think he's married. You wouldn't happen to know, would you? Haven't the faintest idea, sweetheart. Yes, he's definitely a professional. Bill swallowed a bitter laugh. Professional assassin and con artist. After lunch, he noticed Sarah entering the technical department. 15 minutes later, Marcus emerged, casually stuffing documents into his jacket's inner pocket. Bill discreetly slipped into the room. Sarah stood at the copy machine, gathering scattered paperwork. Insurance policies, technical specifications, emergency system schematics. Her cheeks flushed with nervous energy and her hands trembled slightly. "Oh, darling," she startled upon seeing her husband. "You frighten me. I'm just preparing documentation for the insurance company. Marcus suggested updating our policies before launching the new route. You know how these things go. Better safe than sorry, right? Of course, I'm confident everything will proceed smoothly. Why invite unnecessary complications?" "Very sensible," Bill nodded approvingly. "Safety above all else. Smart thinking, reviewing those documents. Errors in insurance paperwork could cost us the entire business." That evening, he returned to the technical department. The wastebasket contained crumpled blueprints marked with curious annotations. Bill smoothed out one sheet. Red X marks covered crucial mounting points, as though someone had calculated maximum stress loads at the structural weak points. Most interesting. The Powder Keg Tavern served as the technical staff's favorite watering hole. Bill claimed a bar stool, pretending complete absorption in his drink. At a nearby table, mechanics discussed the upcoming opening. "These new specifications don't make sense," grumbled Steve, the senior mechanic. 15 years on this job, never seen anything like it. Reduce cable tension by 10%. That's insanity. He claims it'll increase gondola capacity by 50%, but it's dangerous. I tried to object. "Keep it down," his partner interrupted. "The boss trusts this Reed character. If he knows what he's doing, our job is simple: follow orders." Bill felt cold dread creeping up his spine. Weakened cables, challenging terrain, opening day crowds, insurance payouts. The picture forming in his mind was so horrific that even his combat-hardened heart clenched. At that moment, Marcus entered the tavern. He wasn't alone. Sarah accompanied him, laughing at some private joke. They failed to notice Bill in the bar's dim lighting, choosing a secluded corner table. Bill watched his wife lean toward the killer, her hand resting on his palm, their whispered conversations punctuated by furtive glances around the room. To casual observers, they resembled a pair of cooing lovebirds. But Bill knew better. He was watching two vultures planning to feast on carrion. 4 bankrupt resorts, dozens of shattered lives, people permanently disabled by technical malfunctions. And that was only what Mike had managed to uncover. How many other dark deeds were attributed to the smiling instructor and his accomplices? His phone buzzed with a text from Mike. "Found something else. Remember that incident in Switzerland 2 years back? Looks like your boy was directly involved. Insurance payout was $40 million. Chapter 3: Games of Trust. Sleep eluded Bill after Mike's revelations. He sat in his home office, turning an untouched glass of bourbon in his hands. Their wedding photograph lay on the desk, the image where Sarah gazed at him with such adoration it took his breath away. He remembered every detail of that day: how her hands trembled during their vows, how her hair smelled of winter pine and mountain wildflowers, how her lips whispered, "I love you," between kisses. Now those same lips whispered endearments to another man. "Where did I lose you?" His voice emerged unexpectedly hoarse in the office silence. "When did I stop being enough, Sarah? What drives you, love or money, or perhaps love of money?" From the bedroom came her steady breathing. She slept peacefully, too peacefully for someone whose heart was torn between two men. Mike had mentioned that every one of Marcus's schemes involved a woman in love, transformed into a pawn in his game. The morning briefing began precisely at 9 o'clock. Bill observed Marcus, flawless in his instructor's uniform, spreading blueprints of the new safety system. His movements possessed the polish of a dancer or a trained combatant. Sarah sat slightly apart, legs crossed, chewing her pencil tip, an old nervous habit that surfaced during moments of anxiety. "As you can clearly see," Marcus spoke softly but confidently, "the new system accounts for every aspect of alpine terrain, will substantially reduce risks under any weather conditions. This will be absolutely bulletproof." "Outstanding," Sarah breathed, her voice carrying the same admiration once reserved exclusively for Bill. "Isn't that right, honey?" Bill slowly rose from his chair. The knee pain returned, a reliable indicator that he was about to attempt something dangerous. "So outstanding," he allowed a genuine smile to touch his lips, "that I think Marcus should accompany you to Denver, sweetheart. You'll help Sarah with the technical presentation details, won't you?" The room's silence became tangible. Sarah and Marcus exchanged rapid glances, their eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and poorly concealed joy. "Are you absolutely certain?" Sarah attempted to maintain professional composure, but her voice betrayed a tremor. "I could certainly handle it alone, of course, but if you insist—" "Of course you could," Bill approached his wife, favoring his injured leg slightly. "But this is Marcus's project. Nobody understands the technical nuances better for those insurance paper pushers. Besides," he squeezed her shoulder reassuringly, "teamwork will be more persuasive. Your charm and intelligence combined with Marcus's expertise, that's a winning formula. I have complete faith in both of you. I'd be delighted to assist. Naturally, I have numerous responsibilities here, but I suppose I could make arrangements. Happy to help. Marcus strove for casual tone, but something like triumph flickered in his eyes. If Sarah doesn't object. Of course I don't object, Bill's smile widened. Right, darling. After the others departed, Sarah lingered. Her hands shook as she approached her husband. Bill, if you're thinking something, then, she began, but he interrupted, drawing her close. Everything's fine, sweetheart. I'm not thinking anything. I trust you completely. Marcus, too. You make an excellent team, really. Come here, honey. She stiffened in his embrace, and momentarily he thought she wanted to confess something. But the moment passed, and Sarah silently left his office. Throughout the day, Bill observed their preparations for the trip. Their nervous exchanges, accidental touches, whispered conversations in corners, everything told the story not of criminal conspiracy, but of desperate, blind passion. Or did it? He watched Sarah reach for Marcus like a flower toward sunlight, how her eyes sparked whenever he appeared, how she secretly inhaled his scent when he leaned over documents. It all appeared utterly natural. That evening, after both had left to pack for tomorrow's journey, Bill received a call. A text message from his insurance contact made his heart contract. Sarah had recently modified their policy terms. In case of accidents involving fatalities, the entire $50 million compensation would be paid directly to her. Good Lord, Sarah, Bill murmured, gazing at the darkened mountains. What has he convinced you to do? Mike's call delivered the final nail in the coffin. Bill, I discovered something interesting. Every one of his cons involved a woman in love. Can you guess what happened to them? Bill knew. Oh, he understood all too well what occurred to pawns when they outlived their usefulness. But now he possessed an advantage. 24 hours to study every detail of the planned catastrophe while those two were in Denver, believing they'd outsmarted him. Chapter 4, Setting the Trap. Bill stood at his office's panoramic window, watching Sarah's silver Lexus disappear around the serpentine curve. His wife and Marcus had departed for their Denver insurance meeting. 36 hours. That's how much time he had to unravel their scheme. That's precisely why he'd suggested they travel together. Time to play detective, he muttered, heading toward the technical department. In the empty building, his footsteps echoed off walls decorated with photographs of happy skiers. Amusing how quickly a place he'd created for human joy had become the backdrop for someone's sinister plot. Marcus's office maintained military-level organization, every folder alphabetized, not a speck of dust on the desk surface. Bill chuckled. Army habits die hard. He exhibited the same compulsions. 7 years post-discharge, and he still folded socks according to regulation. The new safety specifications lay in a blue folder with gold embossing. As Bill studied each page, his professional eye caught details that formed a terrifying picture. Marcus was extraordinarily skilled. Every modification appeared perfectly logical, each alteration supported by flawless technical justification. Son of a bitch, Bill whistled softly, examining schematics through a magnifying glass. You're an artist, a goddamned Beethoven of destruction. The plan was masterful. The accident would appear completely accidental. But what struck Bill most was the carefully calculated incident location, designed to minimize potential casualties. Marcus didn't want bloodshed. He only wanted money. A couple of tourists whose weight would stress one span beyond its tolerance, and the job was done. Bill spent the following hours at the gondola's upper station. Bone-chilling wind cut through his jacket, but he methodically inspected every joint, every mounting point. When he located the critical failure point, where Marcus's modifications wouldn't withstand a specific combination of load and wind stress, he experienced sharp déjà vu. Just like Afghanistan, when he discovered the booby-trapped bridge the day before their convoy's scheduled passage. He'd managed to save his soldiers then. Nobody died. What would happen this time? History repeats itself, he murmured, photographing the mounting assemblies. Except now the enemy isn't hiding in the mountains. He's sleeping with my wife. Returning to the office, he discovered Sarah had forgotten to log out of her email account on the home computer. Abandoning false propriety, Bill sat down to read her correspondence. Messages in the personal folder revealed the true scope of her betrayal. Dearest Mother, you always said I deserved better, that I was wasting my prime years with that military meathead. I finally understand what you meant. After everything that's about to happen, I'll be able to start fresh. It'll look like an accident. They happen frequently in the mountains. Bill will lose his business and never realize that Marcus played him for a complete fool. Speaking of Marcus, he offered me partnership in this venture and thinks I'm some blonde bimbo who fell for his charms. Well, I'm playing along beautifully, but his expectations of sharing the insurance money are equally foolish and groundless. I'll be the only winner. Once this is finished, you and I will immediately embark on that world cruise, I promise. So that's how it is. Damn mother-in-law. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I always sensed the daughter was becoming just like her. Bill leaned back in his chair, feeling strange emptiness. His wife proved far more cunning than he'd imagined. It wasn't Marcus who'd seduced his wife. She'd planned to use him as a fall guy, leaving him completely culpable for the tragedy while she emerged clean. Well, that made the game far more interesting with such a worthy opponent. The next evening, their SUV returned from Denver. Sarah burst into the house, glowing with success, carrying shopping bags from expensive stores. Marcus followed, radiating the calm confidence of someone controlling the situation. Bill, honey, Sarah kissed his cheek, fragrant with new perfume. You can't imagine how wonderfully everything went. The insurance company is absolutely thrilled with our modernization plans. Marcus was amazing. We spent the entire night before the meeting working together at the desk, reviewing documents. Everything proceeded flawlessly. They practically begged us to begin immediately, Marcus added, settling into Bill's favorite chair. They'd never seen such a comprehensive approach to safety. Naturally, Bill smiled, pouring bourbon into 3 glasses. Incidentally, about safety, I've been thinking. About what, darling? Sarah froze at the kitchen counter, something in her voice making Bill alert. Tomorrow's the final day before opening. I propose the 3 of us walk the entire gondola route together in the morning, inspect every joint, every mounting point. I want absolute confidence in our safety before launch. Nobody except us, the most invested parties, will do this better. Don't you agree? What are your thoughts? Deathly silence descended. Bill could almost physically sense the tension thickening in the room. Sweetheart, Sarah began, but Marcus interrupted. Bill, you're absolutely correct. I deeply appreciate your thoroughness. But let's be realistic. Tomorrow's absolutely chaotic. A complete inspection will take 8 hours minimum. Plus, we have mountains of paperwork to finalize, safety system checks. And Sarah and I barely slept last night. So we won't manage the complete route, Bill shrugged. But let's at least cover the main section, up to the middle span. What do you think? Marcus relaxed almost imperceptibly. Yes, that's reasonable. The priority is inspecting the primary section. That handles the heaviest loads and tourist traffic. Agreed, Bill raised his glass in salute. We leave at 8 sharp. Don't forget full gear in these mountains. You must be prepared for anything. Of course, darling, Sarah smiled, but her wine glass trembled slightly in her grip. Whatever you say, honey. When they retired to their respective rooms, Bill remained at the window, gazing at snow-covered peaks. Somewhere up there, at altitude, awaited the resolution of this story, and he knew exactly which section of the route they'd be inspecting with particular care tomorrow. Chapter 5: The Reckoning. Dawn greeted them with penetrating wind and heavy, threatening clouds. Bill stood at the gondola's base station, checking equipment. Alpine gear, safety cables, radios, everything like the good old days with mountain special forces. A GoPro camera was discreetly mounted on his chest, plus something special hidden in his jacket's inner pocket, a little surprise that would give the loving couple a major shock. "Damn cold," he shivered, glancing at the thermometer. 15 below, wind intensifying. Perfect weather for what he'd planned. Sarah appeared first, stunning in her Bogner ski suit, wearing light makeup as though heading to a photo shoot rather than technical inspection. "Good morning, honey," she kissed his cheek. "God, what brutal cold. Maybe we should postpone the inspection." "Afraid of freezing," Bill smirked. "Don't worry, it'll get heated soon enough." "What do you mean?" "Just that weather can change quickly," he shrugged, watching her fingers nervously fumble with carabiners. "I'm here," Marcus appeared suddenly, characteristically composed and businesslike. "Start from the base station and work upward, to the middle span, then back as agreed." "Absolutely," Bill clapped his shoulder. "That's where things get interesting." He noticed Sarah and Marcus exchange glances. Quick, anxious looks, like two snakes sensing danger but not yet understanding its source. The first hour passed in routine inspection. Marcus lectured about technical details with a professor's authority. "Notice these mounting points. I reinforced them with additional guy wires. Now no storm can threaten us. Everything here is rock solid." "Impressive," Bill nodded. "What about up ahead around the bend?" "Nothing special," Marcus replied too quickly. "Standard configuration." "Still, let's check it out," Bill moved forward. "Since we're here." "Honey," Sarah grabbed his sleeve. "Maybe that's enough for today. I'm freezing. My feet are ice cold. You don't want me getting sick." "Hang in there, sweetheart. Just a little farther." He methodically led them toward the predetermined point, to where Marcus's schematics showed weakened mountings, precisely where the elevation change created maximum structural stress. "You know what's most important in mountains?" Bill asked casually as they approached the target area. "Reading signs. Weather, snow, people, everything leaves traces. You just need to know how to spot them." "What's your point?" Marcus's voice carried new wariness. "Just remembered something. Incidentally, look at this strange mounting assembly. Never seen anything like it." At that moment, a deafening roar erupted. Thunder-like sound echoed through the canyon. Ice fragments and small rocks rained from above. Marcus instantly assessed the situation. Ahead lay the section he'd weakened, behind them an apparent avalanche building. 1 second to decide between two deaths. "This way," he shouted, pointing forward, though his heart sank with understanding. He was leading them directly where he'd compromised the supports. But the avalanche seemed more terrifying. Its rumble intensified and panic mounted. "Bill, my God, where should I run?" Sarah darted between the men, her eyes wide with terror. "Forward, go forward." Marcus grabbed her hand, not to pull her along but to gently push her ahead. "You go first. I'm right behind you." Sarah rushed forward along the narrow platform. She didn't know the exact location of the structural weakness. Unlike Marcus, who held his breath, watching her every step, the construction should support one person's weight. He'd calculated everything when planning the accident. But not two people. Each step caused slight metal vibration, but the mountings held. "Marcus," she called from midspan, "what are you waiting for?" He hesitated, afraid to get too close and increase the load. Snow fell harder, rocks thundered against metal structures. No choice remained. Cursing, Marcus stepped onto the platform. First step, second. The metal beneath his feet barely perceptibly sagged. "Hurry," Sarah's voice rang with panic. He'd nearly reached her when he heard the first ominous creak. That exact sound of overstressed metal he'd imagined so many times while planning the accident. The structure couldn't support two people's weight. "Shit back," he yelled, but too late. The right cable snapped first, exactly as he'd calculated during accident planning. The metallic singing cut off with a sharp crack. Following that, unable to bear doubled load, the left cable broke. The platform tilted, and in that moment Marcus looked for Bill. Where was he? There, standing exactly where the first rocks had fallen. He hadn't run after them but stood at safe distance, something like triumph in his eyes. Wasn't he afraid of the avalanche? Why? What was happening? "Oh God, Bill, save me!" Sarah screamed, clutching a broken railing fragment. The ground vanished beneath their feet. They fell into the abyss, and in those seconds Marcus understood the horrifying irony. He'd been caught in his own trap. The victim who should have brought millions was himself. Had Bill calculated everything as precisely as Marcus himself? But instead of fatal impact on rocks came the sound of sliding on snow. Approaching the edge, Bill saw the pair, caught by safety cables on construction debris, rolling down the steep slope directly toward a dark opening in the rock face, the entrance to a natural ice cave. "Dear God, no!" Sarah's scream cut off as the snow flow dragged them into darkness. Bill knew about this cave. It appeared on all maps as a hazardous zone, a deep crevice angling into the mountain's heart, spacious enough to survive falling into, but too treacherous and slippery to escape without assistance. Bill leisurely rappelled down to a small ledge at the cave entrance. "Hey, are you alive down there? Sarah, you okay, sweetheart?" he called into the darkness. "Yes, damn," Marcus's voice sounded muffled. "Sarah's here, seems unhurt. Get us out of here, Bill, it's freezing cold, we won't last long." "Bill, please." Sarah's voice carried real tears now. "It's so dark and cold. I think I can't feel my legs." "I'm organizing rescue," Bill shouted, stepping back from the edge. "I'm leaving and will return in a few hours with rescue teams. Hold on." Actually, he didn't leave anywhere. Instead, he settled nearby to listen as events unfolded inside the cave. Sounds carried clearly from below like from a well. He didn't wait long. He heard panic beginning below, first quiet curses, then increasingly loud accusations. "You fucking idiot," Sarah's voice cracked. "This is all your fault, your moronic plan with the staged accident. How did you allow us to nearly die? Why did you push me to run ahead where everything was supposed to collapse, decided to get rid of me?" "Shut up, you stupid bitch," Marcus snarled. "You've got blood on your hands, too. Think I don't know about your plans? Wanted to screw me over, right? Keep all the insurance money for yourself." "And what, you expected an honest split?" Her laughter sounded hysterical. "God, you're naive. Stupider than my own husband. My mother always said I had terrible luck with men." Bill settled more comfortably on a rock, removing a thermos of hot coffee from his backpack. Now he could take his time. Let cold and fear do their work. Let them drag all the filth to the surface, all the secret plans and betrayals. Let these two spiders in a jar devour each other. He would wait. After all, he'd prepared for this day for a long time. Chapter 6: Cold Confessions. The sun had set. The cold in the ice cave became increasingly unbearable. An hour passed, maybe more, in darkness. Time lost meaning. Sarah and Marcus, exhausted, huddled together trying to conserve warmth, but the proximity that yesterday seemed so desirable now inspired only revulsion. Their breath emerged in white clouds, crystallizing on their clothing. "Bill, damn it, where is he?" Sarah screamed for the umpteenth time, her voice breaking with despair. "Please, I can't feel my legs anymore. We'll freeze to death here." The echo bounced off icy walls, repeating her plea multiple times. Somewhere deep in the cave, water dripped steadily, like a metronome counting time until the finale. Both shivered uncontrollably. "Useless," Marcus hissed, rubbing his numb hands. "That bastard just left us here to die. I wouldn't be surprised if he figured us out. Incidentally, he'll collect the insurance. What irony." "Don't you dare," Sarah whipped toward him. "Don't you dare talk about him like that, if it weren't for your damn scheme." "My scheme?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "As if you were an innocent lamb, who forged documents and his signature, who pretended to be the loving wife." From above, where dim light marked the cave exit, Bill's silhouette appeared. Something glinted in his hands, alpine equipment. "Good evening, I'm back. Although I must confess I never actually left. What a touching quarrel," His voice sounded almost cheerful, nearly familial. Please continue. Very entertaining to watch you blame each other. Bill, thank God you're here. Honey, Sarah leaned forward, her face contorted with pain, frozen muscles refused to obey. Please, you're not like this. You've always been kind, noble. Shut up, Marcus cut her off. Think your acting skills still work. He's figured everything out. Correct, I understood everything long ago, and I was prepared for today's events. What you mistook for an avalanche, Marcus, was merely an explosive charge detonating above your heads, simulated avalanche. Then you handled the rest yourselves. Bill perched on the crevice's edge, holding a coil of rope. Now about rescue. I have lifting equipment here. True, only one set. Know why? Because to collect insurance, someone needs to stay here permanently. You understand what I mean. But before deciding who gets it, let's talk. We haven't had an honest conversation in so long. You seemed like a simple soldier, a country bumpkin with a military pension. Turned out to be a sick sadist. Do you realize what you're proposing? What's there to discuss? Marcus ground through his teeth, fear already audible in his voice. Get us out of here, damn you. What do you mean someone has to stay? Have you lost your mind? Now this is interesting. Bill switched on a powerful flashlight, directing the beam straight into their faces. Fear makes people genuine. Look, Sarah, your lover's already starting to panic. And this was his plan, so flawless, so calculated. All right, Bill, all right, I'm guilty, I admit it, I lost. Marcus tried to make his voice firm. But let's discuss this like men. You understand this is just business, nothing personal, it happened. Now nobody needs to die unnecessarily, it's only money. Get me out, I won't object. I have good capital, not as huge as the insurance, but still substantial. You won't lose out. And Sarah, she betrayed you if it comes down to it. Think about it, that's much worse than money. Not like me. We have nothing personal between us. Nothing personal, Bill laughed demonically, the sound echoing off cave walls. Seduce my wife, plan an accident at my resort, steal my money. You call that nothing personal? He's lying, Sarah suddenly shouted. Bill, listen. He manipulated me, exploited my weaknesses. I was such a fool. I'm not to blame for anything. We've shared a bed for so many years. And who is he? Just a scoundrel who nearly destroyed our marriage, but now everything's clear to me about him. Forgive me, Bill, you can't leave me to die here from frostbite. I'm your wife. Her voice broke into sobs so sincere that momentarily Bill felt a stab of doubt. But only momentarily. Darling, he shook his head. Don't upset yourself so. I saw your letter, remember. Very revealing letter to mother-in-law. If memory serves, you wanted first to ruin me, collect the insurance money then. Had no intention of sharing with your lover. Right. Let's be honest since we're having an open conversation. How are you better than him? Sarah froze, her eyes widening with horror. Marcus spun toward her sharply. What letter? What do you mean you weren't planning to share? I didn't, she stammered, then suddenly her face changed. The mask of helpless victim fell away, revealing a completely different expression, hard, calculating. Fine, she straightened as much as the cave space allowed. You want truth, Bill? Yes, I planned the scheme. Yes, I intended to screw him over, she jerked her head toward Marcus. Know why? He's just a tool, perfect scapegoat. What? Marcus lunged toward her but slipped on ice. Bill, Sarah's voice became businesslike, almost intimate. Think about it yourself. All evidence points to him. He designed the accident, prepared the mountings. His signature's everywhere. If something happens to him now, it'll look completely natural, criminal dying in his own trap. Responsibility entirely his. Zero suspicion on us. I get the insurance. We get the insurance, darling. Let's leave him here to die. You bitch, Marcus gasped. Fucking carrion, and I thought. What did you think, idiot? She turned to him, steel ringing in her voice. That you'd charm some stupid housewife. That I'd fallen for your cheap tricks. Face reality, you were always just a pawn. Bill, she addressed her husband again, her voice becoming soft, insinuating. We can still fix everything, right now. Insurance, money, it'll all be ours. Start fresh together. This piece of garbage gets what he deserves. He's a criminal, a con artist. Nobody will miss him. Tomorrow morning we'll find his frozen corpse here. Give me the climbing gear." "God," Marcus laughed hoarsely, terribly. "What an idiot I was. The guys warned me. You played the lover too well." "Shut up," she practically spat the words. "Bill, decide. Time's running out, it'll be dark soon. One push and it's all over. Think about the money, the future. We could even do nothing to him, just leave him here alone, he'll freeze by morning." "About the future," Bill slowly stood. "Know what I'm thinking about? That day I found you in the blizzard. You trembled from cold, clung to me like a savior, just like now. Was that an act too?" "No," something trembled in her voice. "Then no, I really loved you, Bill, but later. You were always fussing with your resort, your grandiose plans. I wanted more. Huge multi-million insurance payout, all at once in one day. And for that more, you're willing to send a man to his death. He's not a man. He's just another con artist like you," Bill finished quietly. He pulled out his radio. "All stations, this is Harrison, requesting rescue team and police." "No," both cave prisoners screamed in unison. "Yes," Bill began, uncoiling rope. "I'm rescuing you both, because there are things more important than revenge. There are concepts of honor and justice. You won't understand that, but it doesn't matter." "Bill," Sarah's voice carried something genuine for the first time. "I did love you. Once I really loved you." "I know, sweetheart. That's why I'm rescuing you. But love and justice are different things, especially here in the mountains where everyone eventually shows their true face." He began lowering equipment. Below, in the cold darkness, two people stared at each other with hatred, gradually realizing they'd lost. Lost to someone they'd considered too simple and honest for their sophisticated games. Someone who proved stronger than both of them in this cave. The rescue operation lasted nearly 3 hours. Bill watched professionals he'd once trained methodically extract two half-frozen people from the ice cave. Sarah wouldn't look at him, only downward, as if the ice beneath her feet held answers. When police arrived, snow had stopped falling. Nature, it seemed, also wanted to witness this story's finale. Officer Rogers, Bill's old service buddy, silently listened to the cave recording. "Jesus, Bill," was all he said, shaking his head. "How did you even survive?" Bill smiled grimly. "You know, mountains have this rule: never underestimate your opponent, even if that opponent is your own wife." The trial took place 3 months later. The courtroom was packed: journalists, other resort owners, locals. Everyone wanted to see the resolution of the story that had shaken their quiet town. Bill sat in the front row, directly behind his former wife. Her expensive perfume, which he'd once loved, now made him nauseous. Sarah held up beautifully. She'd always been an excellent actress. She spoke of temporary insanity, how the scheme had ensnared her, blamed everything on Marcus. She cried, begged forgiveness. But Bill saw her tears were as false as their final years together. Marcus broke down. On the trial's second day, he confessed everything: other resorts, past schemes, how he and Sarah had planned this one. His detailed testimony became the final nail in their shared coffin. 20 years, the judge announced. Both of them, no possibility of parole. As they were led away, Sarah finally turned to Bill. Her eyes held no remorse or love, only the rage of a cornered predator. A year passed. Pinnacle Ridge Resort not only survived, it flourished. The story of the prevented tragedy had made it legendary. People believed. A place where truth conquered lies couldn't be dangerous. The mountains keep their secrets, but sometimes they reveal them to those brave enough to listen. And in those peaks, where winter winds still howl through the pines, the truth echoes longer than any lie ever could. If you enjoyed this tale of mountain justice, the author would appreciate your support. Stories like these remind us that in America's great wilderness, character is tested not by comfort, but by the cold clarity of mountain air, where a man's true nature is revealed as surely as fresh snow shows every track.